taking care of yourself, I actually think it's kind of easy. When you involve somebody else into the process,
Yes.
oh, life gets way harder. In a relationship, do you think that should be a part of it? Like, what are your thoughts on that therapy? When people be like, oh yeah, we're going to hit our relationship therapist and all those other things. Like, what are your thoughts? Karen, start with you.
You were like,
Because listen, Kat got us rolling, man, on our marriage. So what's your thoughts there?
I do believe that therapy would help. Like, I'm not against it. Like, I feel like I'm huge on like improvement. If that's what's going to help you improve in a relationship and help you understand each other better, sometimes you do need a third person, then do it, you know? Or at least try it. If you try it, give it an honest try, and it doesn't work out, then you guys can try other things. But I just don't think that you should be against something without ever giving it a fair shot. And I don't think that going to therapy is a indicator that things are going bad. You could even go to therapy when things are going good to understand each other better and to grow your relationship further.
So at what point, let's say you with a person, we're going to go 3 years. You've been with them for 3 years. Man, y'all talking about y'all already moved in together and, you know, you're thinking about considering taking that next step. Nothing wrong has happened. Would you just be like, hey, we should go to therapy?
Yeah. I feel like, see, I'm very open-minded. So I feel like I'd be like, I'm more so like, I wouldn't bring it up like, hey,
Did you do the laundry? Hey, let's go to therapy.
like, whoa.
Be like, hey, what happened? Who you been sleeping with?
It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, I feel like even somebody brought it to me like that, I would be overthinking like hell. But I think it'd just be like, I'd probably bring it up and like, I've been reading a book and it's a book's like, you know, or I watched this interview or this podcast and they said they're going to therapy when things are going good. So I just want to give it a try. Let's just go see how it is. And if we like it, we like it. If we don't, we don't, kind of thing.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, Kat. You married.
Yeah.
Therapy. What's your thoughts on that in the relationship?
I think it's fine. I think I don't personally go to therapy, but I think relax.
What was that? You said, oh.
I feel like me and my husband understand each other so well that we don't need therapy. And I don't know, like
His reactions are ending me.
Should I go to therapy?
He's like, I don't know what you, but I think you.
I think you need some sessions. I don't think all relationship need it, but I feel like you should be open to it because I think a lot of people in a relationship have communication problems and they could meet it in a certain way, but the other person takes it in a certain way. So having that third person out there, sometimes when you're in a relationship, you don't listen to your significant other. Like, they're your person, so you kind of want to like fight back a lot, you know? So when you hear it from a third person, you're like, oh, this person is looking in on our relationship objectively. So you're like, then they can actually accept an opinion that even though your partner has said this to you so many times, but you don't like clock it in. But when you hear like a complete stranger say it, then you're like, oh, okay, then I gotta like own up to my stuff, or oh, I do that, instead of like deflecting, depending on the relationship though, you know.
I like it. You did explain that quite well.
It's like
Okay.
when you tell a joke and nobody laughs, and then this other person tells a joke and everyone's you're like, what the?
Literally just.
What do you mean?
That used to be conversations I have with my mother who used to make me mad about certain things. I make like when I first was working on my sales, I say a tough quote or something. I just made it up. Y'all, I swear to God. I thought I made it up.
Yeah.
But I see like Will Smith or somebody say the same quote the next day. She coming back to me. Hey, did you see what Will Smith? Yeah, I heard. Hey, listen to me.
Yes, they disregard you. That happens to me all the time. Where I guess my husband will say all these things about me, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're my husband," you know. So you kind of take it in you're like, of course, you're my person. So of course you're saying all these things, like even if it's positive things about you. And then like I'll hear it from, like for you example, like you say some positive things about me and I tell him back home, like, oh yeah, he said this about me. He's like, I legit tell you this every day, and you don't listen to me. I swear. And I'll be like, I love you, babe.
Listen. We all,
What?
Look, you be like, what
I
the fuck?
said that.
See, so my thoughts on therapy and a relationship, man, I'm gonna actually take the flip side of this.
Oh,
I don't,
devil's advocate.
I don't see why you would need therapy in a relationship if you are already a person who works on yourself and you're self-reflective, which would also make you communicative. And I don't know why a person who like is already like deep in self and always learning and growing and able to express these changes and understands like just so much of themselves, that why they would be with, and this is me speaking in third person, why I would be with a person who has never worked on themselves or who's never done it. Now I get the third person perspective. I definitely understand it.
Okay.
I also feel like no matter what details I like share with another person, no matter how, it's like kind of like dreams. I look at it like no matter if I right now broke down to the camera to y'all and everything is minute in details, like my dreams and what I aspire to be and what I aspire to do and how I'm going to get there. And I'm like, super excited and ecstatic about it. I think there's no way y'all could ever relate to me because you're not inside of me. And so I look at therapy kind of the same way, where I'm like, if I can't just express myself to my partner in a way for them to like understand, just from us being like building such a solid foundation together of that open communication. Because I do agree, a lot of people don't communicate and they don't open up and they don't reveal their insecurities and their vulnerabilities and things about them that they still are working on. Like, because I'm not a perfect product, you feel me? There's things about myself I'm still working on. But like, if I'm with somebody, as we're like gradually growing and learning and like loving each other, they're going to be knowing these things. And it's just like, I don't know at what point, and again, I'm not married or anywhere close to it, but I just don't know at what point I would feel like, oh, we need an outside source to help us because we are no longer clicking. It's like our foundation is so strong that like that wouldn't happen. Now I want to flip it. I've also prior, of course, I'm clearly not this person now, been in relationships where I wasn't working on myself, and neither was that person. And yeah, we probably would have needed therapy. But nowadays, I just wouldn't be with someone who doesn't love self-development. I love it. Like, I crave self-development and change and values and things like that. And so it would be so hard for me to see myself needing to sit across from somebody to like tell me about myself. I am pretty aware.
I want to like say something about that.
Go, please.
I feel like when you say you work on yourself and you wouldn't be with another person that doesn't work on yourself, but you say you're self-reflective, but that's your own perspective. Like, that doesn't mean, it makes it seem like you always think that you're in the right. It feels like only your side is right. Like, yes, the other person could be working on themselves, but in that way, yes, you can work together, communicative style, but it's very normal for people to get, especially in the beginning of a relationship, to get defensive about an insecurity. Like, yes, you can be working on yourself, whatever, but the other person can also take it the wrong way. And when you see it as yourself, like, I work on myself, so you should also be the same as me. But what makes it so you are in the right? Like, why is your side right?
So I don't personally believe this is a right versus wrong thing. I just think when you work on yourself, you have accountability.
Okay.
And accountability to me means that you're willing to own up to your mistakes, honestly, along with the things you say you're going to do with your word.
Okay.
And so for me, someone I am with is going to be accountable.
Right.
Like, and again, we're not perfect. And I think a lot of times when people hear accountability or they hear like, yeah, you got to stick to your word and everything you said you're going to do, bro. I say things all the time. And if I don't stick to it, I'll just say, hey, we can't hang out at this time. Or, hey, we actually can't do this no more. Hey, actually that check didn't clear, so I can't afford to do that. And it's like, those may be vulnerabilities that you now got to share. But I think maybe the part I should have added in is like, a big part of being self-reflective to me is holding yourself accountable for your decisions and like understanding cause and effect, and that every decision you make is going to have a consequence, even if that consequence is not today.
Okay.
It's like, but it is going to have an impact at some point down the road, and just being so aware of that when you're with your partner, that you're able to express those things. And like I say, it may not come to fruition right away, but it's like just staying so on point with everything that it's just, it becomes a natural just cycle of being like, okay, I got it. And they may even forget everything you fucking say. But
Yeah.
it's like, okay, reiterate it, because we're all human, and it's not my job to remember everything you say. I'll do
Okay.
my best though. Like,
Yeah. But what if like you're 3 years in and you guys been working great, and then all of a sudden there's this one, I don't know what the problem is, but one big thing that you guys couldn't get over or couldn't talk out. So then would you be willing to go to a therapist? Because so far in the past 3 years you didn't need one, but everything's been working out and everyone's taken accountability, been able to talk out the problem. But then this one issue, it's just like you guys cannot agree on at all. And now it's like, I think of therapy as like, on each side you talk to your friends when you have problems, right? So they're also kind of your therapist sometimes. Not necessarily all the time, but I know like within a relationship, like your problems are within the relationship. But I know everybody goes to their friends and like asks for opinions. And so I think of therapy kind of like that. It's still another third person where it's like, I'm not being crazy right now, right? Like, and then you're just kind of like hearing, and then, like sometimes even if you take accountability for those 3 years and you feel strongly on this point where you just cannot see eye to eye. So what do you do?
And you're both being accountable at that point.
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is for me, this is easy. Now you need to redo a values check-in with your relationship. And what I mean by that is like, so what I think another part of relationships is that a lot of times when you meet a person, and I think you explained it like perfect on how this situation could happen, and just how I view it in this exact moment. This could change. And this is a great example of like why someone like me, I feel like wouldn't need therapy, because I'm like, even saying right now, you can actually like change. And I think that's the big portion I think of relationships that sometimes get stuck, is you can meet a person 3 years.
Okay.
Your values are exactly the same. We'll use religion. I hate going like we're not going down a tunnel with that, but like, let's say your religious beliefs with both of you all lined up perfectly, and that is what held the relationship together. But now you get your 3 years, honestly, you just don't believe anymore in what they believe. But they like still believe this is what they do. This is what their whole family taught them. This is what their culture is. And it's like, now I feel like you just need to check back in with each other. Hey, my values still align here, but your values, are they now going into a different direction? Because you don't want to say it looks like your value. You need to ask that question. They express to you, hey, no, I actually just don't see it anymore like that. But I was super supportive of you in the beginning. And then now you just got to check back in. Okay, now I got to ask myself, well, how much will this impact the relationship moving forward? Did I force them into this religion along the way? Like, am I forcing my beliefs now on my partner? And if it comes down to my decision where it's like, wow, like, if they don't agree with my religious beliefs, like, this ain't going to work out, because this is how I want my family to be raised. This is how I want people to be brought in. And then you got to make that tough decision of, will the relationship still work out at this point? And if it won't, because you literally on your insides can't be with somebody that don't believe what you believe, then it's time to let it go. And it's like, yeah, for me, it's just, I think it's this thing called sunk loss fallacy, but I think a lot of people get trapped into. And a lot of people even listen to me be like, damn, though, you kind of cutthroat, but it's not. It's that sunk loss fallacy is when people commit to something, or they put time and energy into something for too long.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you need to see it through.
Yeah.
Like, I put in 3 years on this relationship. This has to be the person I get married to and have kids. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, this is 3 years ago. This was the person, but today it may not be. And you just be like, all right, it doesn't work out anymore. I've leveled up. They've leveled up. We don't see eye to eye. It's okay. Like, we can go our separate ways.
Would you?
I know why you don't need a therapist, because you are the therapist.
This is the I in defense, I have read hella therapy books to like understand how the mind works and even how they operate. And in defense, I've also dated therapists.
Oh.
And they've come to me for advice, and I'm thinking to myself, and this ain't like, I'm always looking to learn and grow. And I'm sitting there like, ain't you the person that's supposed to be like this. But I learned it's all just all those things are like self-reflective and change and values, and how open are you with communication? How open are you with understanding people are just people? I don't know. All those things like kind of intertwine. And so, of course, like you even mentioned it, I don't think the person will be exactly like me,
Yeah.
But I think the foundation we're gonna build is gonna like open that door for comfortability to be able to have that conversation, and both of us be able to sit there like, damn, this
Yeah.
it? Like, we're done
Well,
off the religion?
I have
Like,
a question though.
go ahead.
What if would you not be at least okay? I'm gonna like increase the stakes here.
Okay.
15 years into a relationship.
Okay. Whoa.
Yeah.
Damn.
And you suddenly have
Damn.
that realization. Yeah, I still believe that, you know, if you realign and everything and you're like, it's not gonna work. But wouldn't you just as a one last, you know,
Hurrah,
hurrah,
like,
like
you
let's
have-
just see how a third person, a third professional person would view this and how they think we could go about this and then try it and then be like, oh, well, still believe what I feel.
I feel like this relates to giving your all in a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, because you raised the stakes, I gotta like ask myself. Now, again, I'm only speaking from this current person today.
Yeah.
I don't see how this third party can help me see something that I don't see.
I can give you a more of a like a
Example.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. So, for example, with content, right?
All right.
We are always looking at our content and we're analyzing it the best that we can from our perspective. But don't you think it always helps when we give each other our content to also like be like, what do you think? And then you notice things that, like, for example, I'll notice things in your content. I'll be like, oh, this is a good thing. And you like notice things in my content where it's like, I never ever thought of that, but I analyze my content and I'm critical, highly critical of it. But there's some times where you just can't see from a different perspective because you're so into your
side.
reality.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And yes, I am in agreement or for content.
Yeah.
But for self, just because I like live by this analogy of just like a lot of people just walk around with the camera facing them, always worried about them, what's going on in their life. But if you like take a second and you just hit that button and you flip it out and you look at the world and you be like, well, what value am I bringing to these people? I kind of look at it with like our relationships. It's like, what value do I bring to y'all lives? You know what I mean? Like, why would you still want to be around me and spend time with me? And it's like, these are things I consider. And so I don't see myself ever being so self-absorbed, which I don't want to be that way, to where I can't understand what value I'm not bringing to my partner unless they don't express it. But then that would be so odd. But I'm not. This is current self. Yes, I do have thoughts on what makes a relationship work, building a strong foundation, everything else. It's kind of like, I don't know, I guess I'm not going to go too off a ledge, but it's like how if someone meets, but they never worked on themselves, and then for 2 years they keep their insides, like their traumas and everything, just to themselves. They don't share them.
Yeah.
And then so you've now put in 2 years, and then like the third year, you finally start revealing your traumas, and now y'all try to backtrack out to like rebuild back up. I do think that could be possible, but it just makes it so much more difficult because you've gotten used to how each other operates, and you all like, it's so much change that has to happen in that point. And I know I'm like speaking in like a metaphoric sense, because then you would be like, oh, well, isn't that going to happen with all relationships? But I just feel like the sooner certain things are like covered, it would be so tough over time to like need to see yourself needing to go to like therapy and hearing an outside opinion and not understanding what value you bring to your person. And like, yeah, it's just so tough at this current stage of my mentality for me to see like me and my partner ever getting to a point where we would need to go to therapy, where we really couldn't talk it out, where we weren't comfortable enough to share our insecure, even if it's goddamn, hey, you're not performing in the bedroom anymore. It's like my partner will be comfortable enough, for God's sakes, this could be a TMI moment. Like me and Kat, we're so close that I could be like, yo, Kat, I'm about to go take a fat shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's true.
Yeah, and she's like, okay, cool. I actually got to take one too. You know what I mean? And these is just friends. And like, how many women like right now would not be around like their guy friend and be like, oh, I'm gonna take a fat shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that's the type of just aroma that I feel like I give off, and the type of energy I like want in the space. So it'll be tough. It will be tough. It's tough for me to see it.
What if she says she wants to go to therapy?
Yeah.
Would you be open to it?
Yeah.
Why are we going to therapy? What is the exact? If I need a reason, as long as there's a reason.
I think, for example, what you touched on, where maybe because you guys are both really self-aware, right? And you're constantly working on self-improvement and everything, and she discovers that she had a limiting belief or something that she held in for so long that was based on a childhood trauma that is just too hard for her to unpack on her own. And she's also trying to figure out how that plays into the relationship. And she, what?
Yeah.
What?
Then she should go to therapy.
No, but
Why do
listen,
I need to go?
that then affects her. I mean, affects
In
your
the
relationship.
relationship.
Yeah.
And I feel not saying that your opinion is not valid or anything. I just want to understand how if she wanted to go to therapy, it almost feels like if she's bringing up this problem and she feels like you still, even though you're aware and she doesn't feel like it's not enough, but she still wants to go to therapy.
And
Now
that's a
with-
huge problem. Like sometimes when you're like, I like you're telling somebody the problem and they're like, no, I know, like, or something, or they're
Yeah.
like, no, we got it. And you're like, I don't think so.
You
No,
don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, we're talking, and I don't feel like you got it. So
Exactly.
I feel like when you do, like, if she wanted to go to therapy, and you're like, why would we need to go to therapy? It almost feels like you're invalidating her, what she's feeling, even though you can see the whole picture, but she doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. And she doesn't know how to express
Yeah.
it, so she needs a third person to be able to express it. She thinks that a third person might be able to express it better to you.
Yeah.
Then she's able to express it herself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then in that case, it sounds to me like she needs to go to therapy and then come back to me with the details. And then if I still don't understand, we can go together. So we can get there.
Okay.
But I would be so confused. And remember, I'm only speaking from current self.
Yeah.
I can potentially change, in a year.
Yeah.
I'm not stuck in no mindset. I would just not be able to understand why they can't explain to me how something is affecting them.
Maybe they've tried and you just keep
Yeah.
saying you get it. And they're like, I
Yeah,
don't
that
think you
happens
do.
a lot.
A lot.
And,
a lot.
and that's
Yeah.
when I say that, like, when you say that you don't need to go to therapy or saying, like, why do we need to go to therapy? It feels like you still only see your side. Like, what I see is right. And what she's feeling is not right.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not trying to do, like, the right or wrong thing, but it's true. It's like I think it happens with most guys. Like, I feel like they feel a certain type of way about going to therapy.
Yeah.
Like, they just feel like it emasculates you or something like that. Like, it's just talking about feelings. It's trying to, like, if that person is not able to express themselves clearly, at least they have another channel that they can go through that can explain it way better than they can.
Yeah.
Even though you know this person.
Yeah. What?
We're like trying to convince you need to go to therapy. You need to go.
I'm sitting there for a second
I'm
like,
trying to, like, hypnotize therapy.
I'm sitting there for a second like, wait, are we still talking about therapy? Why does it feel like the therapy coming back to me? Okay, first,
We're both like,
Say yes.
see, that's just where this is going. Okay, you know what? I'll throw out something to, like, because I see now what you all are leaning at.
Yeah.
And this probably is why I'm also, like, operating the way I do and I think the way I do. So, like, these type of conversations, because this is normal within my circle of people, including you too, that's why it probably comes off so odd to me. Does that make sense? Because we have these deep conversations. We talk about insecurities and things you're working on and things, you might have worked through to get to this point where you're aspiring to be. It's like, this is a normal world for me. It's not something scary or shocking, or it's like with anything. If somebody is already been working on something for long enough, they become confident in it. It becomes normal. And so, like, talking about feelings, emotions, insecurities, validations, finances, we can keep going. This is a normal world for me. And so probably this is why my brain can't grasp at this moment. Like, because I understand what you're saying too, Kat, where you're like, some men feel some type of way about talking about therapy, like they're, who they are. But that's not, for me, it's just not me. And so it's so tough to be like, damn, I would need to go to therapy to, like, figure something out about myself that, like, I feel like, I don't know. I think sometimes I just think, like, and this is hard also to say because I've done so much work and, like, I've read so many different books and I've had so many different conversations with other deep-minded, self-aware people it's not that I'm like blinding myself to that possibility.
Yeah.
It's just that it's like I know exactly how they get to the root problem also. I know exactly how, if when you were a kid, and this is a great example I love to like share with people, is like if you were a kid, when you were sitting at the table at 2 years old, right?
Yeah.
You could have been eating food and your grandmother's sitting across from you. And honestly, you're done eating. You're full. You're like, yo, I'm good. And your grandmother's like, no, you eat all that food. There's starving kids all over the world. And then you stuff your face. You finish all your food.
They're starving kids in Africa.
Yeah, I didn't want to. You see, I avoided saying Africa, but you know that's the line. I avoided it though, you know what I mean? But like, it's like, and so now you go through your whole life and that lives in your subconscious.
Okay.
And then you're always eating all your food. You force that on your kids. You force that on your friends. You force it. But guess what? In the very beginning, you actually said no.
Right.
But you've never unpacked so deep into yourself that like you don't recognize that that was never your mindset to begin with. And so like, I don't know, it's like little things like that. As you all can see, I like go extremely.
But do you know how many habits of those things are like ingrained, and how many you've broken up? Like how many of them that you still do that you don't notice yet?
Oh, it could be a lot.
A lot, right?
Right. But then go.
Yeah. So like in that context, like there might be something that's kind of, not to get into therapy,
But-
that's kind of holding you back from being open to this. Like also, okay, I don't want to go there, but I just feel like, you know how I think of therapy? I also don't go to therapy. Just putting
Yeah.
I don't go to therapy. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there.
I know, we're like so like, but therapy. But we don't go to therapy.
Yeah.
Hey, I think y'all just learned a valuable lesson. You feel me? I'm getting forced into therapy, and neither of them go.
No, we're open to it.
Yeah, open to it. But
Yeah.
it feels like you're
Not.
very closed off. Like
Yeah.
I know you said that until she goes to therapy and then
comes
possibly and then maybe I'll think about it. But it's like it just sounds like you
just
feel
not
like
get
you
it
know
done?
everything.
Yes.
It just sounds like it's still about you now.
That's
it's
so
not
dangerous.
about the relationship anymore. So that was the point of therapy.
And you know what? And I'm going to plus one what you said for this concept right here. Kat is married, so she's going to have a different perspective because you have your person who you're building with and growing with. Me, I am single and building everything I'm doing right now on my own. Of course, with my friends and everything else, but y'all aren't my intimate lovers or anything.
Yeah.
And so it is and I don't think I'm a know-it-all. I'm gonna just cover that real quick. I'm always learning. I'm always learning and growing, but I do have a lot of like intellect and knowledge, and I won't like be shy about it because I think that's gonna like hinder me as a person. But like, to sum up my point, is just like I do prioritize myself right now first, which is why I keep like mentioning my current mindset, and so it's super tough for me to like view another person not being able to open up. And now I got to go to therapy because I'm just like, my brain can't even like conceptualize the thought. But I also throw this out here with growth and change is that taking care of yourself, I actually think it's kind of easy. When you involve somebody else into the process, life gets way harder.
Yep.
So I'm agreeing that I can't even foresee what that would be like, having to deal with another person's energy on a consistent basis where this is a person I'm actually looking to grow and build. I have ideas and I have thoughts that I think would be phenomenal if this was a structure to relationships. I think a lot more people would be happy. But I also do know it's not that simple.
I think that's why we are like, be open to therapy, because when there's another person involved, it's not as linear.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just be open.
Yeah.
Just be open.
We do agree that when I am in a relationship, it is possible that when I have to allow their energy in now into my life to kill my structure and discipline, to like involve them and ingratiate them into my days, you're right. Therapy could be a possibility.
You might actually be the one who asks for it.
Shit, I might need it.
I know.
She might be so self-aware, like, and she's like, listen, I don't get it. Like, we're good. And you're like, no, we need to fix this. And you're like, she's like, we're good. And you're like, listen, okay, let's go to therapy.
Hey, and if it comes to that, I'm down. If it comes to that, but yeah.
Okay.
So you all convinced me. Feel good. God damn. You feel me?